There it is. Take it away.
Okay. I could just say whatever I want to say.
Whatever you want. Yeah, we decided to come out here and do this because the public comment session, as you know, you're limited to 3 hard minutes. You're never sure if they're listening, and it's only 10 every week. I personally sign up within seconds of the link going live every Friday, and I have never once been so I'm like, F it. There are a lot of people with a lot of things to say right now. We'll just put it out on the interwebs, tag them all in it, and make them hear.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Well, I showed up here today with my friends and my mom to support this measure that was put forth by Candy, is it Sitabaca? Mm-hmm. And the reason we are showing up is because my mom and I are both longtime residents of Denver. I was born and raised here. I'm 28 years old. My mom's lived here for 30 years. And I personally feel deeply disturbed by the police state in this community. I've had a number of experiences, not directly with the police, but witnessing my dad have confrontations with the police and hold a profound fear of the police. And it's been something that's been a theme in my whole life, and I haven't understood why until I grew up, until I started seeing this stuff as an adult and started really taking in and understanding the violence and the conditions under which we are living and the status quo that we've sort of been conditioned to accept here. So I'm showing up here today to support my radical and wholehearted support for this bill and for this measure to defund the police and to redirect these funds to social work and to social systems that support the people in Denver who need our help the most and who need our funds the most. And especially during this time, during an election year, I think that it's really important that we take a radical stance on these things and that we hold our elected officials' feet to the flames, because we're fed this language a lot around how we need to wait for revolution and we need to be more patient and we need to adhere to this two-party system, and that adhering to the status quo and patiently waiting for change is the best way. And Black people have been being told that since we arrived in this country, basically 400 years to wait. And that I think people are waking up to the fact that that is just a lie and then that's just an illusion. And so that's the reason that I'm here to show my support and to reject these officials. These elected officials are here to represent us and the constituents of Denver who are telling us to our faces to wait while the 5th most brutal police force in the nation brutalizes and murders and kills Black men and Black people and Black trans people left and right. And I just can't stand for it anymore. And I am grateful for this opportunity to share my voice and share my opinion and to stand up as a community member who has a Black father who doesn't feel safe in his home. A Black father who works for this community, who has bled and sweat and cried for this community, who doesn't feel safe here. It's my duty to show up and support this bill. And so thank you, Candy Sitabaca, for bringing this forward. And thank you to the activists in my life who are teaching me and who are inspiring me and who are holding these officials accountable. I'm tired, y'all. I think that our nation isn't spiritually ready for the type of revolution we seek. I think we have a lot of healing to do inward. Each of us has a responsibility in order to heal our communities. And I think moments like this are a huge step forward in creating healing. And they are also a huge step backward in creating harm. So I think this is a pivotal time. And I think each one of you who votes today needs to go home and look yourselves in the mirror for a long time and ask yourself what the fuck you're doing and why the fuck you ran. It's our duty to fight for everyone. It's our duty to fight for our freedom. It's our duty to win. We must love and protect one another. We have nothing to lose but our chains.
You must be so proud. That's amazing.
Thanks.
Before you run up, you said that you'd want to thank the activists who inspired you. Mm-hmm. Would you like to name them? Because I know a lot of people who've been reaching out and asking us, like, who am I supposed to follow? And I'm like, well, I follow Colorado Freedom Fund and everyone who works there and the Denver Justice Project. That's me personally. How about you?
Somebody who I've been following who is probably inside right now, I have known since I was a little girl. Her name's Katie Leonard, and she runs the Anti-Racist Club. And she's been speaking at a lot of these meetings, and she is brilliant. and she's a radiant soul, and you should follow her at Anti-Racist Co. on Instagram. Yeah,
Thank you.
check it out.
Appreciate it. Yay. Whoever's next, come on down. I say jump on in.
Hi,
Hello.
how are you, lady?
I mean, I don't have a shirt anywhere near as nice as that.
Well, you
But
know, this
good to
is
see you.
from Louisville.
Oh,
This is Louisville garb.
that is fabulous.
Yeah,
That is fabulous.
it's from the Louisville stay. They'll be here Saturday.
I know I don't, our fitness protection is sponsoring.
Yeah.
We're a corporate sponsor of the event. So
Awesome, awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. I haven't even. Hi, how are you? Good, good. I haven't even seen everyone who's sponsored so far. I'm so swamped with so much.
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
I can only imagine. It's coming, especially coming up on the 1 year.
Oh my gosh, so much is happening.
It
Yeah.
seems like it. What did something, is everyone, I guess, let me to ask appropriately, shit has been attempted to be thrown at you.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm on a personal level because I love
Yeah, yeah.
you, whether that sounds odd and awkward and we're a little too forward, sorry, but
No.
I love hearing you speak and I love the way you've been representing the McLean family because you are
Yeah.
their unofficial spokesperson. Basically, if I know that you're there, I know it's a sanctioned event.
Yeah, usually.
Yeah. So as we come up on the 1 year anniversary of his death, I'm sure there's just a lot of feelings, and I can only imagine what poor Shanine is going through right now.
Yeah, she's going through a ton. There's a lot of feelings I think that she repressed.
Yeah.
That are coming to light, you know, just in the fact that people are like saying his last words, and that's very hard. You know, it's very difficult to traverse. I can't even imagine from her standpoint what that really looks like. I can't imagine. There was a whole huge event planned that got just shut down. It was just too much. It was too overwhelming. Now, Lee England Jr. and Ashanti Floyd will be here, our violinists that travel with us on the Caravan for Racial Justice. So they are the show. They are it. They are all, there is no speakers. They are everything. And so from my perspective, it was just absolutely the best thing that could happen to honor Elijah's life. And to honor Shanine and his siblings and the family overall. You know, there's been so much happening and there's been so much that has not happened.
Yes.
That's the flip side of this. A lot of it feels like people want to throw a party for what has not yet been accomplished. And that is a whole other aspect to look at as the parent of a child who was murdered to police brutality. So, we're still pushing forward. We have so much work to do. We have a lot of things coming up. The year is just kind of a punch in the gut. We have one person who was fired, and that was for a picture mocking the actual murder. So I don't really feel like it feels, I think that's kind of just a smack in the face.
Yeah.
It's like insult to injury. No one has been arrested. No one has been convicted. It is still business as usual in our camp. So we're still fighting day and night, looking at the ways to keep the world looking at what is happening and making sure that justice does prevail. Other than that, to be here today, that's a lot of what connects with what Candy is attempting to do in what I call restructuring, where police funding comes from. And so some people say that they are defunding the police, but really what we're doing is an overall economic restructuring. So if you look at alternative economic developments across the planet, the UN actually has a council for it. I have a great friend who sits on it. And she gave me these great books, and we talk about the significance of creating alternative economic structures. And inside of that, there's a portion that actually deals with how community is community engaged, and we don't require policing in the sense that we have in 2020 and we've had for hundreds of years when they were established as slave catchers. And so it is really just a change in how money flows, because actually the police have a huge economic tie into everything that happens in a city.
Yeah.
And so when you begin to take away, you have to begin to add. And I think that's the importance of economic restructuring from a communal sense, from a village standpoint versus what we currently have. And so I came to support today. Candy and I are great friends. We're kind of Candy times two. We're not the Candy
So
that
jealous.
everybody likes.
I want to be friends with Candy. She's so amazing. I love this the strong, impassioned, loudmouth women. That's what I've been called my whole life, and I'm like, I kind of own it now. Like,
Yeah.
yes, I have opinions. I have a brain that functions and a mouth that does too.
Yeah.
Stand back.
Well, I think that even more than that, a mouth is one thing, but I think a plan is very important. And so you can always have a mouth. You can always yell a whole lot because I do a lot of yelling. I'll probably be hoarse before the weekend's over. However, I know that a plan is even more important. So intent and content are very important. If your intention isn't right, your content doesn't mean anything. But if your intention's right and your content is crap, then you have another situation on your hands, because then you don't have a formulary way to get to progression. You're just talking a lot of shit, and that doesn't make sense. How do you clean up the messes that have already been deposited? Once you wipe that away, then what do you put in its place? It cannot just be get rid of without a solution-based outcome. As an actionist, it's important that not only do you scream, but also that you have something action attached to it. So anything that I've done has had action attached to it. The police department, I surround the police department, and then I go get on the police oversight committee. I think there has to be something attached to anything that you're doing. Otherwise, it's just empty. It's empty words. It's frivolous action. You wasted a lot of energy just screaming. And so I love what Candy is putting into the environment. I hate the attack on her, because really it is an attack on democracy. It is an attack on actually bridging the gap and grabbing a hold of the demographics that the city claims to love so much. Because we've left them behind. We are only as great as our least. And so I was just saying when I was walking up, they have really nice grass out here now. Their grass looks really great out here. Like, they have completely cleaned up the civic center, but I want us to repeat the words that I just said: civic center. And if you look up what a civic center it is it is a place where the people gather. I don't see anyone gathered. The bell tolls as I say it. Not funny. There's no civic gathering happening. They put us all out. But they do have really nice grass and flowers in our civic center. So I think it's important that we get to a place where we stop just having really nice grass and really nice flowers, and really allow there to be a civic center for our humans to engage and talk about what's happening in our community and how to come to resolution, because it's not without them. It has to be with them. And we actually need to have a conversation with them to determine how do we go where we're going together.
So when we talk about, how do you feel like this is moving in the right direction? I'm personally nervous about tonight, because the phrase Peace Force doesn't resonate with a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Specifically with people who have not had to live in fear of the police their entire life. Mm-hmm. So that the phraseology almost sounds
ridiculous.
Yeah, or Pollyannish. Like, oh, we're just gonna hold hands and like, how are we gonna bring peace? Well, it doesn't happen with guns. But.
Right. I think that, as well-intentioned as it may be right now in its infancy, there's going to be a million steps to get to a place where we're even near this. Because like you're saying, there just is a demographic of people who are like, Peace Force, what do you mean? Who is actually going to do this part of the job? And there's so many other things to think about. And I think that when people say defund the police, there is this cringe, because they're thinking about all of the crime, the uptick in crime that's happening around our city. And it's really serious. And it is a conversation that we need to have very wide net. But I think that there are areas inside the police departments, and I'm saying multiple because around our city, our country, our state, across our nation, across our world, policing, the overall structure of policing can be changed. The funds that can be taken are funds that are not required for our safety. They don't dictate our safety in any way, shape, or form. We can reallocate those funds back to grassroots organizations who can actually go into the community and have a deeper impact and bring a greater change than what we're seeing with these dollars being given just to police forces in generally. And I think force is the word that you have to really take in when I say that.
I love it. I hope absolutely everybody hears that and thinks of it. It's the force.
Yeah.
It's still with us.
It
It's
is
not
a
going
force.
anywhere.
It is a force.
Because I've noticed they're supposed to be peace officers and they talk a lot about de-escalation, but in my experience, the police have done nothing but escalate, no matter what you do or how you respond in those moments.
Well, I think that we've seen the history, and even in today, there hasn't even been a lot of things that I've had to say about many police departments that I'm even entangled with, APD, DPD. I haven't really had to say a lot because they're just showing up of their own accord. I don't have to say anything negative because we are seeing the culture make it self-evident no matter what we do. And so I think that there's an elephant in the room and that everyone in the room has to start looking at it. And it's not because we're looking at the Black experience. I don't think that's what's going to get us there. I think we have to look at the middle America white experience and understand that we have to highlight when a white man is killed by the police for absolutely zero reason. Those are the cases that are really going to get us the understanding that I call middle America the OJs. You're not Black, you're OJ. And so you might get by, but you won't get away. It's really affecting you too. And we have to stop this thought process, this Black on Black crime idea, whatever that is about. It's infecting our brain into thinking and believing that we have an issue that's different than the issue that's really at hand. And so we're in a divisive state across our nation, across our world. And as long as we're dividing, we're never multiplying. We're never going to get better. We're always going to be taking away from the things that we do better. I think as a nation, we recoup very quickly and we're really good at that. But if we're not ever tackling the problems, the real problems that we have, we're not really doing anything with it's wasted energy. It's tangible energy that we're wasting on very picturesque things, very surface beauty, things that mean absolutely nothing to the overall human being,
Absolutely. So part of the reason we wanted to do this tonight was that public comment is 3 minutes, hard stop, limited to 10 people. None of us, I sign up every week at the same time. I have a auto reminder in my calendar, and I'm just going to keep talking so that you don't have to talk over that siren. So I did this auto reminder in my calendar every week, and I sign up for public comment within seconds of the link going live, and I've never been one of the first 10. Mm-hmm. So we thought there are a lot of people with something to say. Let's give them a place to say it. If you could speak directly to Denver City Council right now, what would you like them to know? Feel free to look straight in the camera. Cursing is fine. I know you don't do that. You're classy. But anything you want to say, there is nothing off limits.
I totally appreciate you there, but that was not true. So if in speaking to Denver City Council, I think that the message still rings true. Your service is required to the citizens that are in your community. Your service continues to lack in some way, shape, or form because you have an entire city that is coming to you, begging and pleading with you, in light of the uptick in police violence, in the way that the citizens within this city are being handled, treated. I feel like you are tone deaf. You are villainizing Candace Tabaka for coming to the table with relevant solutions. Even if you don't believe it's a relevant solution, I think that there's a requirement over you to explore those solutions and to come to a place that helps you to find solutions for the entire demographic inside of Denver, not just your friends. We've had several conversations around the idea that you believe that you are above someone, that you are greater, and you are not. And the sirens are everywhere now. So
it's because we know we're outside live streaming, so they gotta make some
amp
noise.
it up. I think that Candy Cidabacca is a great representative because she speaks for the people within her district that are of the least. She's not speaking from a pedestal or a perch. She's actually speaking to the residents, even the houseless community that resides within her district, to give them the opportunity to not be the voiceless any longer. And I think the more that you attempt to put your hand over her mouth, you are actually doing a disservice with inside of our city, with inside of our community. We are asking that there be a reconsideration in everything that you are doing inside of our city, inside of our state. Police brutality is unacceptable. This is not what Colorado is. We are the greatest melting pot in our country, literally. We speak thousands of languages, probably hundreds of thousands of languages here in our great state. As a native, it is despicable, it is disrespectful to the people here. It is disrespectful to the indigenous who live in a peaceful manner, no matter where they go or what they do, no matter where you displace them or where you push them to the edge of the universe. Their universe, mind you. Be clear that you are disrespecting an entire people that you think nothing of, but you actually control and work for. It's time for that to stop. You need to reconsider your privilege and use it in the correct way for the very first time in your lives, in my personal opinion. I hope that you do not continue to be tone deaf to the message that I brought to you repetitively for years and years and years. Continue to work with Candy. I believe that she is a progressive, and whether you've noticed it or not, people are looking at Colorado and Denver as a leader in our nation. Whether you think we are conservative or not, the nation looks at us as a progressive. We are doing things no one else is doing, and the eyes of the nation are on us. Please be mindful. Make us proud.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
With parting words, I know that a lot of our followers and the Afro Liberation Front's followers have been only recently discovered that Shanine McClain has a Twitter account.
Yeah,
bless her heart.
Mhm.
And she has been talking about what we need to remember humanity, which is what Elijah would have wanted. What is the one thing that we could do to honor humanity and her wishes while keeping his memory alive simultaneously?
Ooh, that's pretty deep. I think that treating each other as you would want to be treated, sitting still with your own bias, with the things that you struggle with, and being honest with yourself. Honesty is going to get us a lot more places than not right now. We have a lot of very serious conversation to have, and loving each other through this. There is no revolution without love. It cannot happen. You can't even spell the word without it, literally. And so I just encourage each of us. It really is mind blowing, huh? So I just encourage each and every one of us to continue to work in a vein of love, because you must be a lover of evolution to join the revolution. So take that apart.
I love it. I love it. See, you are classy. All I've been saying all week is you, Mayor Hancock, after saying those tweets to Candy.
I'm sure I've said all of that too. Today you just got lover of revolution and evolution.
I love it. Thank you so much.
You.
And thank you for not staring too deeply at my failed sunscreen that as my face peels off yet again. Well, I can't win.
You can go look at all my beautiful pictures via media, and you can choose one. I feel like they're in a war with each other. So your peeling is wonderful. Trust me. It was good to see you as always.
Good to see you. Thank you so much. And let us know what else we can do to support you and the family going forward.
Indefinitely, yeah. We're just really trying to get all of our flyers shared and get donations and sponsorship, corporate sponsors, everyone to the floor, to the board, to the table to really make a move. We have so many things happening around our nation right now, and it continues to boil over and over and over and over and over and over. You already know we're going to be very busy soon, so you better have your traveling shoes on, honey.
I can't wait. Well, Ruth 116, I haven't deviated, and I won't deviate from it.
We're ready.
Absolutely.
All right, I will see you on the road.
Thank you.
Thanks
have a good one.
Oh my gosh, she was the driving caravanner.
Yeah,
I remember the driving caravanner.
Yeah. Louisville in a day, and then one day back. It was
you guys did a great trip though. a great trip. It was great to watch, to see all the pictures. It was awesome.
Thank you. We really did hate to miss the dinner that night, but we got sucked into all the mass arrests downtown on our way back to the hotel. So
Yeah.
we ended up on jail support outside of the Louisville prison downtown until like 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
Got a
Well,
bit of rest and then started
We were there
alternating.
at 4 in the morning. We were there till 4 in the morning, and then we got on a flight at what time? 6. Oh, we were down there late. We were down there super late too. Yeah. So you'll be excited to see who's here on Saturday. So at the Capitol at 5 o'clock, we have an event here, 5 to 8, with all of Louisville. There's 25 of them coming.
Amazing.
We'll have lunch at Brother Jeff's, I think, around 2:30 or 3 o'clock.
Brother Jester the Whittier.
I think Brother Jeff.
Brother
They
Jeff.
put Whittier out. I don't think they put Whittier out. I hope not.
Okay.
So I think in Brother Jeff.
I don't want to get it wrong.
I might
I've
get
done it
Brother
before.
Jeff's. I'll send it to you anyway, so you have it. But yeah, join us. I'm sure they'll be a joy to see one another, because everybody who was there will be here. So
I love it.
yeah, we're
I love it.
excited.
Thank you. I'm excited too. I love your face mask. It's gorgeous.
I got this out there.
See you later.
Thanks again. Have a good one. Yeah, we're still going. Who's next? Hi. Hop on down. Oh no, you're awesome. Water's just fine. Yeah, I love you. Okay. Or actually, you know what? A nice tea, unsweetened. That would be perfect. Yeah. 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 I'm Southern. You can't ever go wrong with an unsweet tea. Do you need one right now? Oh no, I've got a little bit of this left, but thank you. I appreciate it. Hi. So as you know, public input. 3 minutes each, and they only take 10. I've been trying for the past 7 weeks, and I'm sure it has nothing to do with me cyberbullying Joe and Clark as to why I've not gotten on the list.
Yeah.
But I figured there are a lot of people with a lot to say. And we wanted to give them a platform to say it. So have at it. You are live on 7 channels simultaneously.
Cool. All right. So I'm really thankful that, Councilwoman Sedevaka is bringing something like this up, like that she has I don't know what the word is, but like nobody else wants to talk about it. And she's the one that actually is like, let's get some stuff done. Right. And like I was here a few months ago when everything was going down after everything that happened. And like just witnessing that here in Denver, like I couldn't imagine like that happening here like 2-3 years ago. Right.
Yeah.
And what surprised me the most was the Denver Police Department's like use of force and like indiscriminate use of force. Like we were just there, we were just sitting there, and this isn't new, I would say, right? This isn't something new that Denver Police Department is guilty of. They have countlessly used excessive force, right? And for what reason? Like there's nothing to show for it, right? It's like, so a lot of people talk about how like, oh, well, the way to reduce crime is to have more police, right? And that's the opposite, right? You have more police, there is more crime. If we don't get to the root of these issues, right, then like what is the point, right? It's a Band-Aid that, if anything, does more harm than good, right? More people die, more people are brutalized. When instead, we should be focusing our resources on like things like social safety nets, like healthcare, like all these different things that allow people to live a full and like healthy life, right? And unfortunately, the way that it is now, that's just not how it is, right? And something that I've really noticed was Mayor Hancock's refusal to really hold Denver Police Department accountable, right? And the only way that we're going to get some change around here is if you abolish police department, right? There's nothing good that comes from police inherently as an institution, right? Like they are meant to protect property. They are not meant to protect people, right? And like, yeah, every now and then you'll get like a good feel-good story about a police officer, right? But like that's not in their job description, right? That's not what they're meant to do. And you don't need a police officer to do those things. so I don't know. I'm really glad that, Candy Silvaca is bringing something like this up. At least, we're getting the conversation started.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's something that 2-3 years ago, people would have been saying.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know.
Not to put you on the spot, guess how old I am?
How old are you?
Text strips.
40.
42, just turned.
Okay.
But
cool.
very close, very good. I guess how long I've been an abolitionist, or I've identified as an abolitionist, meaning not Democrat, not Republican, but abolitionist.
Yeah. I don't know.
20 years.
Okay.
You know how long it is, and that has not been a thing. It's a thing now. It was never, if you were to say it, you sounded like a cuckoo. Like,
Yeah.
so is that like somewhere between socialism and communism? I don't know.
Uh-huh.
But now, like, it is a full blown movement.
Yeah.
Which is so cool. So hearing these words like defund, you
Yeah.
couldn't have said that 20 years ago.
Yeah, and I mean, I think people were talking about it. I mean, you have like Angela Davis, who's like really big on abolition, but I don't think as many people, right? Like you said, like it's more commonplace to hear that now.
Yeah.
So,
Where white people would have heard of Angela Davis but have no idea that she is an abolitionist, or like that's what her teachings
Yep.
are around.
Yep.
It's like
yep.
Black studies, right?
Yeah.
God, it's very,
Yeah.
it's interesting. It's a cool time to be having these conversations. If you could say one thing right now to city council, I mean, just look right in the camera and be like, you need to hear this because I pay you and you represent me. Obviously not if your representative is Tabaka, like you're so lucky if that's the case.
Yeah.
It's not her.
What would I say? If you all truly represent the city of Denver and the population of the city of Denver, then like do something, point blank period. Like I've lived in Colorado my whole life, right? I'm born and raised here. And I'm just kind of tired of nothing happening. So do something.
Very well said.
Yeah,
It's weird having to say that to grown-ups. Just do something.
I guess so. Cool.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you sharing using
Yeah.
your voice.
Thank you.
Okay.
Cool.
Who is next? Yeah, come on down. Next person is coming up in a second.
Hi.
Yay. Hi.
Hi.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Osria. I'm 20. I born and raised in Denver in Northside, which is now Sunnyside or Highlands. I have so much to say. First of all, it's nice to have an amplified voice like a Congress, like a councilwoman, representing the things that everyone has been out here trying to share for the longest time.
It's like 1 out of 12 heard us. Yay.
Yeah, and I think when people hear defund the police or like abolish the police, I think it kind of inflames something other than like without really understanding the meaning of it, they are completely against it. My perspective on it is that we take those funds that we're paying for, because we do pay them, and reallocate them to our vulnerable communities, which would allow those communities to uplift themselves, and therefore we wouldn't have the need for such policing of those areas. And growing up in North Denver in a single parent household, as a biracial person, I have seen firsthand effects of what that does, providing people the tools that they need to uplift themselves. A lot of, especially young males in our communities. I have a single mom who's a very mother to the community kind of thing, and took in a lot of those people and just uplifting them and giving them a sense of support. So many of them did not get into the situations that a lot of it's easy to let people know that they can be successful without having to be terrified of I've always been afraid of the police. I've never had a single positive interaction with an officer.
How old were you when you became aware? Because right now, to give an example, on my way, I brought my daughter to the sweeps last week. My oldest is 8,
Yeah.
and I brought her to the sweeps at Maury. And I immediately, a lot of white parents reached out and was like, she's too young. Let her be a child. Don't you think she's too young to have this conversation? I haven't had this conversation with my 14-year-old yet. How old were you when you realized that the police were not necessarily your friends and you had to be careful?
Yeah, definitely probably under the age of 10. I want to say like 8 or I grew up in like it was at the time a kind of rough neighborhood. Now there's gentrification happening, but we like probably some of my earliest memories to when I was actually like being able to form thoughts on things. 7, 8, 9, like around the age of your child actually. And I also have an older brother. We have different dads, but he's Hispanic, and my mom is also. And seeing him and his friends like deal with that and being uncomfortable. My brother understands it, not being a Black person, but having a biracial sister, I've seen him like speak on it and say like, my little sister gets nervous anytime she has to like pass by a cop, and that's not okay. And he's not a very political person, but even he understands it. I also don't think this is a political issue. It's a human rights issue, which is hard for people to understand. But also I think people forget that we are paying for this. Like, I've had a job and been a working class since I was like 15. And like, this is where my taxes are going to. They're literally taking our taxes and putting them into weaponizing them against us, like both physically and metaphorically. Including like at the Denver like the first Denver protests, I with like tear gas canisters, I had like blisters in my throat, and I also got like a physical burn on my face, and got shot with with a 40mm baton round. And they're not very transparent about where those funds go, but I did take a look for myself today at the official list that DPD confirmed of the items that they used for crowd control, riot control. And the website, like the specific brands down to the exact brand of what they buy, there are very explicit warnings on those tear gas canisters. Like, I did my research, downloaded each thing, and I mean, it's a horribly toxic. It was created to cause pain. It's a very cruelly intentioned mix of chemicals. There's a clear label on the warning from the people that create the chemicals that says, please don't use these unless you absolutely have to, because they cause cancer, they cause birth defects and reproductive issues. And I know there's been lots of women that have been on birth control that are now like having hormonal issues as well. And it violates Geneva Convention, which for some reason doesn't apply to citizens. So I just don't know why we have those things in place, or why we are literally funding our police to buy actual weapons to use against us when we're practicing our rights. It's so backwards from what they're supposed to be doing in terms of protecting and serving. Like, I also was surprised to see Denver PD's reaction, like the first few days.
Sure, thank you. I
It's
really appreciate that.
not anything new in terms of like a nationwide problem, and I've always been uncomfortable around them. But seeing them come out in full riot gear to like protests that I saw children at, and seeing them gas children,
Yes.
it's extremely upsetting that I don't think people realize, like, we pay them to do their jobs.
We paid for the tear gas. We paid for the person to administer it.
Yeah.
To a child.
Yeah. And seeing children screaming in the streets and having their eyes flushed out while their mothers, like, people weren't expecting that. I mean, they started, and a lot of people don't understand if they haven't been there. And I would encourage anybody that doesn't understand, or that doesn't think it's that big of a deal, to come out with us and see how they treat you, because it's not going to be any different. And the same thing for, like, I wish, it's so disappointing having a mayor that is a person of color that seemingly does not care about us at all. I would love for him to come out in plain clothes and march with us and see if they treat him any differently than they would any other Black person, because they wouldn't. And I don't think he thinks it's a problem. And so people like that, I think, need to experience it firsthand. It's a horrible, they would just be there and see. Because there's nothing like seeing your money spent on events that lead to children screaming in the streets because their entire face is burned and they can't breathe. A lot of people don't know how to deal with that afterwards either, like the fact that there's no transparency in what's in those chemicals or how to take care of yourself after. One of the important things is you have to go home and take a cold shower. If you take a hot shower, it's going to reopen your pores. they don't tell you any of that when they disperse those chemicals. They also misuse them, which is just basically throwing our funds away in a whole different way, like just indiscriminately shooting them into crowds. One of the people that lost their eye wasn't even protesting. He was walking to his car, like going home from work, and they shot a baton round at him, and he's blind now, like he's permanently maimed for life. And so I don't think people realize that that abuse of power is never okay. I've actually had people that don't support what we're doing use the argument that, well, it's illegal to not do what an officer tells you to do, which is not true. It has to be a lawful order. Even at that, they can say it's a lawful order. That doesn't mean anything. I don't think a lot of people know what their rights are, and so they're okay with seeing others have their rights violated. And it's almost like they think we deserve it for saying anything, which again is a weird concept when we are paying for protection from these people that then abuse that power, target us, and also continue to hold down our most vulnerable communities. Not only people of color, but also like our houseless communities.
Yes.
Not only are they brutalizing them, they're also traumatizing these people, not offering them anything else. And like the fact that our funds could be going to helping our houseless communities uplift themselves and have somewhere to be instead of paying those officers to be on the job for that amount of time so they can traumatize people and throw away their belongings is really upsetting. And I don't know how anyone isn't upset about that. It's, so it is very nice to have Candy speaking up for everything that we've been asking people to hear for so long, because we know it's controversial. You see people get targeted for it, and I don't think that it's okay to not speak up on it at this point. So it's nice to have a strong woman in a position of power that is elevating these things and making people think. Even the people that are upset about it, it still hopefully makes them think a little bit. But yeah, even something as small as like, not small, I'm like in that mindset of thinking that being like tear gas is a small problem just because it's of how bad things are.
Or asking to trust the police or believe
Yeah.
the American creed. Like,
Yeah,
these are big things in my book anyway.
absolutely, yeah. And I mean, there are just some things that like, it's so nice to have allies and have people support you, but at the same time, things like this are really important so that people of color can have their voices heard. Because I don't think you can't understand unless you've experienced it firsthand. Just like that fear of existing. Yeah, it's scary, especially like I have an older brother, so seeing like young males of color be attacked for literally existing, it's concerning. Like it's something that I definitely grew up being scared about all the time. Having the police like drive by your house and use intimidation tactics, and they are in low-income neighborhoods for a reason. And then when we do, like, I have never called the police because they don't show up in our neighborhoods when there's something wrong. Like they do not show up, or they misinterpret what's happening and someone that called ends up getting shot and killed. So I have never called because it's like, it is a privilege to have to feel comfortable calling the police. I have never called and will never call because if anything, my main concern is what if they misinterpret this and just instead like kill me or someone with me. Yeah, I live in Wheat Ridge and it's a predominantly white neighborhood. I saw like a statement from the Wheat Ridge Police Department recently too, saying like, we're not part of the problem. That doesn't really happen in Denver. But the first month I moved in there, someone called the police on me for sitting in my car smoking a cigarette and said, the police came like on both sides of my door. I was with a friend of mine too, took our names down. They did not believe that I lived there. I had to show them a message from my landlord to like prove that I lived there.
Oh my God.
They also thought I stole the car. They ran it several times and were like, so if we call the owner, like she's not going to say this is stolen. And I'm like, nope, I live here. This is mine. Like, asked me for my keys. And I said, okay, they're in my pocket. Went to pull them out and they immediately reached for their guns. So it's like, I think a lot of people have the argument that it's because we're not following instructions. It's not. Even when we do, they will find a reason. I don't know what it is that makes them, maybe even unconsciously to some extent, afraid of Black people, especially Black men. It's something that's so programmed inside of law enforcement, and even if people that are in support like question like, well, defunding the police isn't going to help because if you are upset about how they're doing things, they need more training. The training that we have isn't working right now, obviously. So I don't know if the people that are training them are equipped to do that. I don't think no matter how much money you put into it, that level of power that's so easy to abuse and not being able to hold them accountable is going to be abused no matter what. So I'm happy to see someone advocating for this inside, and even if it doesn't go through, and even if it's not supported by our Black mayor, which is very unfortunate, at least it makes people think about it a little bit more and hear people explain why they're afraid of the police and why they get nervous and why I get nervous walking past them, because we have to. And there are certain things, even like driving, that growing up, like, I still don't drive, but now, like, I can't just focus on like, oh, I get to learn how to drive now. One of my biggest concerns has been like, okay, so what do I do if I get pulled over? How am I going to handle that? Like, how am I going to make sure that I stay safe? That's something that other like non-people of color have to worry about. It's not something that exists in that mindset. So I hope people can be more empathetic and humanize us, because I think that's one of the biggest issues is people treat us like animals, and law enforcement treats us like animals. And we've tried asking nicely. It's not like this was the last resort. Obviously, we're here now because we have to be, but I don't think anyone wanted to have to come to this point. But it's been an impossible task getting these officers or any officers nationwide to look at us as human. I don't know why that's so difficult. It obviously comes from a long history of oppressing people of color, and it's just something that's embedded in their thinking. But that's the main thing I would ask for from everyone, including people that disagree with this bill, is to treat us as humans, see us as humans, and recognize that we don't deserve this. It's not because we're disobeying orders, and we pay for these people to hurt us just like everyone else does. So we should have the ability to have an opinion on it as well.
So if you could say one thing to city council and make damn sure that they heard it, what would that thing be? Want to look straight in the camera? Be like, hey, city council.
Hey, city council, stop utilizing our funds and weaponizing them against us to hurt us. We're working class citizens also, and we're human, and we pay the people that you employ to physically attack, target, brutalize, and traumatize us. I personally want my funds to be used to uplift my communities instead of knowing that I'm giving my funds to a system that is going to weaponize them against me and people that look like me.
I think you're gorgeous. I appreciate you using your voice. Thank you for speaking on our platform.
I appreciate you.
I'm gonna like burn it all down. Burn it all down. My words, not yours.
Thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely. Who's next? Come run your mouth. That's you.
Hi, everybody.
I'll tell them want to say who you are.
Echo, founder of Afro Liberation Front. Yeah, well, it's kind of turned. Oh. Is this okay? Or?
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah.
Just make sure you speak towards the microphone.
Yeah.
It's static, so it won't capture all the sound from around. So this morning when I called you and said, I think you really need to consider doing an event tonight. It was because city council public input sessions are 30 minutes long. Everybody gets 3 minutes. That's 10 people, unless they have technical issues, which they do every week now that they're using Zoom. So it works out being like 6 people who get to speak. I have never successfully gotten off of that list. I think the only reason, I think they might have heard my Senate testimony and now they see me walking in, they're like, MK, nope.
I think we signed up at the same time, like
Yep.
right after. So there's no reason. There's like I should have been after number 15 or
Oh no.
told there's no way we can guarantee you can speak preemptively. Like they didn't even try. But you're right. They always are pretty quick to start late and end on time. So
Absolutely. And I've
Denver
signed
City
up
Council
every
for
week.
you.
I have a reminder in my calendar. I know when that link goes live. It's at noon,
Yeah.
12:15.
Yes.
I'm sitting there waiting. The link goes live. My name goes in. There's no way. I'm number 20 every single week consistently. So what do you have to say to city council that they need to hear? Tell us all, Echo.
Oh my God. Yeah. I think it's really, oh God, it's so, you guys, what you're doing in the face of what's going on in this country right now, the current conversation we're having, to even have the audacity to attempt and defeat these measures that were brought out of good faith, that were brought with well intention, they were intentional, well thought out. Like Candy actually sat down and took the time to hear the constituents of Denver and put forth actionable demands that we could possibly vote for in November. And on process alone, other council people who are either too afraid or too weak to stand up for what's right, to actually listen to their constituencies. I only saw 2 surveys go out. And I just wonder if they actually even heard their people, because I've been out here for the past 80 days and it doesn't, if they were listening, the result should be positive, right? Like if they've been paying attention, if they've been watching America, if they've been, keeping up with the countless people that have died since we began to protest, like 120 was the last number I heard. Additional deaths since George Floyd. I'm sure that number is astronomically higher now. And I'm sure that number is even it was astronomically higher then, because that's only the ones that we know about. This system is beyond repair. I just don't get any more attempts to save it. And Mayor Hancock, you're mad disrespectful. The way you spoke to a woman of color who was only advocating for her people, like I just have like a bone to pick with the way you called someone reckless and irresponsible, using that codified language, trying to preemptively co-opt the narrative. Like you think you're slick, but we've all been watching you. Like everyone's been watching you. Like the games don't work anymore. Like, you're under a microscope. I hope you've abandoned the prospect of re-election because, ugh. But yeah, maybe you could take this as a learning opportunity and see what some other people are doing in your absence, like Leslie Herod or Elizabeth Epps or Councilwoman Candy. Like there's plenty of awesome examples for you to, I guess what I'm trying to say is it's not too late. But the community, the Black community, man, we're worried about you. Yeah. Point blank, like I'd offer if you need someone to talk to, like yeah.
So I know
none of that was disrespectful anyway. It's not personal, it's professional. Like you're at the head of this ship while it is demonstrably failing. Like someone needs to hold you accountable because you clearly don't intend to do that yourself.
Well said. Well said. Again, much more eloquent than I was. All I did was yell, "You Mayor Hancock," over and over again. I think my kids have said it a couple times.
God, we're
I'm just
educating
waiting
them
for them to say it in
young.
school. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't hide things from my children, especially my opinions.
That's good.
Speaking of putting opinions out there, tell us what you think of these 3 bills. I know that they're a little esoteric, meaning they're important because they dismantle a system that is really hard for most people to understand. I know that most functioning adults in my world have no idea when city council meets or what its role is in the government. So why are these 3 bills that she has proposed so important and unfortunately so unlikely to receive the support that they need?
The reality of the situation is we live in like a small autonomous kingdom in which dictator Hancock has the final say. Council is not set up to adequately voice our opinions. It's block voting, and he knows this. He's taken advantage of the system, and he knows that it'll work in his favor. Like the silence, he's banked on the fact that looking like doing something is enough, and people aren't. The reality of the situation is there are a lot of people who don't check into council and who don't feel motivated because they don't feel like things are being done. That's been changing, and he hasn't been responding to the situation. Could you question again? I'm sorry.
No, it's not.
Am I hitting the point?
So why are these 3 bills that Candy proposed so important?
And these bills, like they're the first step. Like they're the first step I mean, and honestly, I'm happy she decided to find, she dared to do this. Like, it was a bold step. I mean, because I don't think anybody else was going to, even with the conversation heading in the direction that it's going. I mean, November, those three measures effectively put the option in our hands to decide as a community. And council's afraid of that. Hancock's afraid of that. Like, that should tell you something about, I mean, I'm no conspiracy theory, but I don't know what the foundation does with its money, like that I discovered yesterday. I don't know. I definitely don't trust DPD to have any integrity about the situation. What I witnessed about collective bargaining and what I've seen about the process so far, they intend to keep us out. Like, they don't intend to listen to us. Like, everything that we've seen so far indicates that they don't want to listen and that they won't. Fall is coming. It's going to get colder. It's going to get harder to hold these actions. And I think they're just banking on us tiring out. Yeah. Even from the statements that I've seen put out in response to the sweeps, in response to abolishing, it's like, we hear you and we're still going to do what we want to do. Like, we hear you and we're still going to do this our own way. Like, I mean, I'm going to be honest, I started this process as a Democrat, and I'm not sure I can call myself one anymore. Just from what I witnessed from our leadership, from our Black Democratic leadership, from our gay Democratic leadership, our queer leadership. I mean, as a queer person, I'm ashamed. I mean, kudos, and I'm so glad for Leslie being out there for us. But Polis, like, you owe the community an apology. You ran as a queer candidate, and I'm just really ashamed of everything that you've done so far. That you continue to do, the way you ignore people in my community, people in your community. But yeah, I feel like I'm ranting. Please, yeah.
No, I mean, that's what this is for. So what, can you name one thing that Polis has done for your community? Like, why is it great to have a gay governor beyond optics? Oh, I could be that when I grow up. Yes, we know representation matters, but so does action.
I'm very happy that I wasn't here during the election the first time. When I got here, I was one of those people that definitely co-signed, and I've recognized that identity politics are a thing. Like, I didn't do my homework about Polis, and now that will never happen again. Like,
honestly, the other choice sucked more.
Yeah, no, it did. But like, I mean, when you have to, that says something about your system when your two choices are shit.
Yep.
Like, I mean,
like the presidential election.
Yes.
What would you? So this is a thing that's already starting right now.
And to answer your question, nothing that I can see so far. Like, I mean, it's sad, but it's true. I've seen like gestures, but nothing that's sustainable. I've tried to do research and I've seen nothing that just lights up in my face. I've seen more deference to property. I've seen him be more concerned about holding people that took a few statues down accountable than he's concerned about housing the people sitting on the land. Like, he chose to use our money, like $700,000, like enough money to house everybody in that park. He chose to displace instead. His choice is just, he does not seem like a good person. That's another person I would not vote for again. Everybody's gonna do what they want, but like, I mean, yeah, these politicians are showing you who they are, and I suggest we all believe them.
So when you talk about like choosing between two shit candidates, you probably heard there's a presidential election coming up later in the year. And I think a lot of white people were cheering initially about Kamala Harris being selected as the vice presidential candidate.
I got drugged for speaking out about Kamala. I don't have anything against her as a person or as an individual. Myself personally and many in Afro Liberation Front feel like that's, I mean, a D in front of your name, any letter in front of your name is not enough to make us want to go out and vote for you. You have to earn people's votes. That's the way our system was intended to be. Like, that's the way we're supposed to practice democracy. No one should expect our vote, Democrat, Republican, otherwise. And we just want a closer examination on the stuff. It's like, these things happen. Like, the actions she took in regards to trans lives are concerning. The actions that were taken in regards to her time as a prosecutor. I just wonder personally if she's going to show up for the Black community this time when she had the opportunity to before. I would love to see it more, like addressed more explicitly. I've seen I've seen policies, I've seen measures. I really want to see. I just need to see more. Same thing with Biden. He's not, you know, void of like scrutiny either. And real talk, I'm going to vote for both of these candidates. Like, I mean, I know the situation. Nobody wants Trump, but like, I think we need to start asking ourselves, like, if we're in the same situation that the Republican Party found itself in 4 years ago. Like, I mean, I know Mitt Romney would. I mean, I think we can all agree Mitt Romney would have been less, like, detrimental than a Trump presidency. I didn't like him either, but like, I mean, he's shown the ability that he can at least, change his stance in light of new information. So, I mean, baby steps. With this current election, like, I know we're all going to be motivated to vote for the obvious candidate, the one that's going to get Trump out of office. But when they're in office, like, don't just let their past actions just dissolve with this new seal of approval. There's a lot that they still have to answer for, that some of, like, that they and the people that they associate with have just chosen to ignore. I mean, good journalism has gotten some of these things out, and I don't want to speculate on, what do I say, Senator Harris or candidate Harris's past, but I just think, more needs to be said about what was done. Like, we need accountability from a prosecutor. I feel weird even saying that. I'm kind of disappointed in the Democratic Party too. I feel like Stacey Abrams, I don't know what happened, but I would have loved to see her out there. Val Demings was another great choice. And like I said, I'm not writing off Kamala. I just want somebody to answer to what's happened, or to at least give us some sort of promise, or just like, assurance that it won't happen again, that they will show up for us this time.
Well, just to hammer you, but to be more specific on that, we're in a moment in the middle of a movement that was kicked off by the death of a Black man, George Floyd, this particular moment. So, and which reignites an ongoing conversation about police brutality and excessive force. In the middle of all that, we now at the national level are looking at two presidential candidates that have both said, defund the police, ridiculous, not going to do it.
Yeah.
So, and with that being the main issue, the communities of color are saying that impacts their day to day. If we could start one thing to make life easier, it would
fundamentally, it would be taking away the police department. That solves mental health. That solves medical, like, it puts money back into social welfare programs. It takes money away from an astronomically large budget. It makes law enforcement no longer the largest funding industry in America to deal with mental health. It encourages situations where we have social workers showing up rather than people with guns. I have many personal connections to people who struggle with mental health, and who, like, I mean, just situations where I've wondered, like, I mean, who do I call right now to help this person? Who do I call right now to save this person, to not trigger a series of events that I know will just make the situation worse? Like, I've wrestled with situations in my own life where I've had to struggle, like, I've been in danger, and it's like, I mean, shit, if I call them, are they gonna come kill me, like, too? Like, that's happened before. I've been pulled over walking on the sidewalk. I have called them and have been made the person, like literally with a black eye, I've been told that I did something wrong to provoke the situation. Like, it's just bad, guys. Like, there's no saving it.
Yeah, because you absolutely look so fierce and scary.
Oh, yeah. No, but I mean,
Which is saying not to emasculate you. It's just the very
the
notion.
the conversation at like just the large conversation about like law enforcement and everything, like I'm very happy that it's being had, but the parties that you suspect would be most vocal in advocating for change, like it doesn't really feel like they're doing that much. Um, and yeah, circling back to the party, like it's depressing. It's
And-
disappointing.
Well, it's depressing. I know for me, not that my experience should be central to anything now, but in this moment that I've been waiting so long for since I was basically born into this movement, that didn't have a name and didn't have a place until very, very recently this year, which is exciting. In the midst of it all, the only person who is meeting that moment, speaking to it, and addressing all of the protests is a local city council representative for District 9. I didn't even know where that was. I had to go look it up.
Yeah.
Candy C. Tabaka.
And only
One person
by herself.
by herself, backed by the Working Families Party,
Yeah.
which again I had to look up because I didn't know that existed.
Yeah.
Um,
Denver has to do a lot of homework, myself included, about some of these parties that are out here and these entities, these affinity groups that are, you know, making change. Like, I'm so happy that they felt confident enough to, well, I mean, it's not even about being happy that they were confident enough. They came out here and they did the work. They came out here and they listened to us. They showed up consistently to public comments in which we were present and made every opportunity to hear us. So I'm not surprised. I just wish more of our officials would follow their examples. Like, I mean, yeah, you shouldn't be tearing down anybody who's at least trying to get the ball rolling. And I mean, it's so disappointing that you take that. I mean, I'm talking to the mayor again. Why would you take a stance that it's just that police are beyond reproach? We have examples in small cities in America where peace police, like peace departments work. There are examples all over the world where non-lethal intervention works. The guns aren't necessary. The military armaments that could defend a small country are not necessary. These sweeps aren't necessary. It just, I mean, I think everybody in Denver, the reason we're out here trying to support this is that nobody agrees with where our tax money is going. We don't want to see any more brutalization or criminalization of our unhoused neighbors. We don't want to be brutalized ourselves just for coming out here. That's happened to me a few times. I've been pepper sprayed in the face, like hit with projectiles just for daring to feed homeless or try to speak my voice. Like, it's insane that your First Amendment right comes under attack when you want to speak out against police, but not under attack when you want to say, I don't want to wear a mask. Like, the way that COVID has been weaponized by this council is disgusting. I mean, the reality is they don't want to talk to us because they know what we're going to say, and they know that they'd have to answer to like just some really awful things going on. Sorry guys, any more questions? Like, do any of these people watching have questions, or would that be a thing that we could do?
Absolutely. If anyone watching has questions, go ahead and stick it in the chat. And yeah, you can see. So
I
this
totally
over
vibe
here,
with
these are the
Karen
comments
White.
coming in.
It does make you not want to vote at all, but like, I
And if you
mean,
touch it, it'll go on. It'll pop up on the screen
we have to vote.
like that.
Yeah, please, like that. So you burn down POC.
POC business in their home. That's a troll.
It's like,
Oops.
don't
I
know
would
what-
love
I
to
don't know what that
abolish
happened.
a-holes. That'd be amazing. You're welcome. Azria is incredible.
She's
Thank
amazing.
you.
I love her.
Oh.
I mean, I think I could. Azria, I think we can call her one of our organizers now. But
Yay!
yeah, Azria, I can be an organizer for your left, right? Okay, yeah. Come talk with me. Like, I'm asking them questions now. Is there like another chair, or can we like orient this so we can all be in it? I just feel like I'm
Here.
ranting now.
Absolutely. I'll move it around. The backdrop's not quite as
Yeah.
pretty, but you two can sit next to each other.
How many of you have actually tweeted your council people today?
Have you bullied your council person today?
Have
Needs
you
to be on
bullied
its
your
t-shirt.
council person today?
Hashtag kill your
Get over there.
Oh.
I was gonna say, I'll move this all over. Let me know when you're both in the frame. There you go. Here we go. Sorry, I didn't have time to change over to your logo before
Yeah.
we got started. I apologize.
Oh, no. It's cool. It's cool. I think it's shared on our socials, everything. Everybody knows, like, if you talk to one of us, you're talking to usually all of us. Abolish snowflakes. Oh, that's cute.
That's really cute, right?
That's so cute. From behind a keyboard, you're
People are so,
brave.
Well, there's something wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay. It is our duty to fight for freedom.
Yeah.
So these have been coming in. That's from like an hour or so ago. Hi, Tessa. Happy birthday, dear Tessa.
Happy birthday, Tessa.
I think she's tagging her friend in it. Okay. So, Azria is now an organizer for the Afro Liberation Front.
I love it.
Yay! It sounds so badass.
It's a.
I wish Iris were here. I'm seeing her comment now. Oh, sorry.
I did too. I saw her picture. We love a powerful lady.
Yes.
It's been a really great community. Also,
I'm sorry. I struggle with coming up with things to say on the spot too. I do much better with prompting. Yeah.
Oh, well, let me get back to that then.
Yeah.
So,
This stuff is not easy. Like being out here, like, oh my God. Like, I just want to say also before we go any further, like, I appreciate all the support, like everything. We don't get nearly enough time to like reach back out to the people that send us DMs and send us emails and everything, but you see them and like, yeah, like, sorry, but yeah, go on.
No, it's wonderful.
I've been meaning to say that like in some way, shape or form, but yeah.
But like, you didn't respond to Leslie Herod right away either. So it's not about an importance thing. It's literally just an overwhelm thing.
Yeah.
We get it. So tell us a little bit about why you decided to start the Afro Liberation Front, since there are already so many organizations out here. I mean, I know the answer, but
Yeah. Many reasons. I didn't feel protected by the state. I didn't feel protected by some of these groups that were out here. There are a lot of things that were getting in the way of the movement getting started, like COINTEL. Like, the biggest problem that I saw when I came in was We Are Love Denver. ALF kind of came from its ashes, if I'm being completely honest. And yeah, I saw a lot of people in the Denver community showing up to the Capitol, trying to figure out which protest they should throw their weight behind, like kind of like how you choose between like produce in a grocery store.
what's the reason?
Yeah, I mean, it was like overall really depressing that we had so much momentum that was being drowned out. We're gonna let that pass. Yeah. Sorry, every siren is triggering now. Like sirens, like hood slamming, like it's a lot. But yeah, I just felt like there was a situation in which I could be useful, and I was surrounded by like-minded people who also felt that way, and basically just took a chance. There were many opportunities, or many points at which it felt like this was not going to happen, and we've been constantly reinvigorated by people who vibe with what we're trying to get done, who are of the same mindset of building bridges and making coalitions and partnerships of people who not only want to see the issue of Black liberation through, but also want to make sure that we hold ourselves accountable and keep ourselves to the same standard as elected officials, like community organizers, people out here. It's like, we're asking you for money. We're asking you to trust us. So like, we want to be the first voice out there to call out homophobia. We want to be the first voice out there to call out transphobia. Like, ALF, one of the things that I noticed when we first started is that most of our demographics, it's women across the board, intersectional women, like queer people, like from all walks of life who felt similar, like that the movement was dying and that we all had a vested interest in keeping it going. Like myself personally, it just felt like the last opportunity in which I was going to have to be seen as human. So sorry, this fly is really like trying at me, but yeah.
That's why I reached out to Echo too. Like I was losing hope so quickly, seeing all these other organizations and like seeing the focus shift to something completely different, and all the like there was a lot of toxicity going on. I don't think people felt, not only do we have to worry about the police, but then also there were like threats within the community that I think made a lot of people feel unsafe. So when I reached out to Echo, I was really excited. And like the first thing I told him was like, I was like, I'm so happy to
I'm
see
just doing
like,
myself. Like it's okay. Like I mean, and the people that I've met since starting this, like people within our ranks, like we want to normalize that conversation, and it's got me thinking about my own. And I'm just like, yeah, no, I'm not a boy. Like I'm not a man. Like I'm non-binary, and people inside this organization, people that I've come into contact with just from daring to start something like this, they've made me more confident. I'm much more careful about my language too. Like I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
no,
off.
you're
Like, yeah,
fine.
like,
I think that's a really good point because
Yeah.
it's such an uplifting community.
Yeah.
Like I was talking to you about this earlier, but like aside from doing this because it's kind of a necessity, but also like I've developed such like good relationships with people, and everyone I feel very safe around and like I'm able to trust. It's like a very good sense of camaraderie where everyone wants to make sure everyone's okay and protect each other. But also
We don't like
having,
anybody leaving alone. Like,
yeah,
if we can do anything to make sure you don't get arrested, we're going to try that. That's why we put out statements like, there's an unconfirmed report of something. Like we have people like in the span of things since from start to now, we've become very lucky to have an extensive network of people willing to share information with us. People ready to go hop on their bikes and verify if there is a sweep or not, and make sure before we start the call to get as many people out there as we can. We really want to be a body that can help you navigate throughout all of this chaos. I do a lot of homework before I sign on to anything, and like I mean, I won't ask you to come to anything that I don't feel safe coming to myself, and I think the same thing.
yeah, it's important to be transparent, which I didn't see a lot of transparency when there were like so many different divided organizations coming out. So I don't think some people were aware of like what level of risk was associated with which action, and that's one of the things I appreciate about this. Like everyone is always looked out for. Everyone's safety is always like priority.
I've seen situations where people were just afraid to speak up because like
Yeah,
it's a black organizer at the helm of the thing, and I'm just like, well, hold up, this black organizer doesn't agree with that person either, so can we talk about it? Like
it should be a
it's-
conversation.
it's like it was just really weird when like really toxic things were happening and then nobody wanted to speak up about it. So I mean, that's pretty much it. Like I mean, ALF exists to be a space to engage actionists safely, to provide a safe space, to make them feel comfortable and confident with organizing. Like unintentionally, like I set out to create something and it became that for me. So I want to make sure it, stays that for everybody.
Those are very much so advocates for like every vulnerable community. I think some people want specific focuses only. but
Yeah, we're intersectional out here.
yeah,
Like
it's easy to attack all of them. Like the root of the problem for each of those things all goes back to the same thing. So we might as well dismantle all of that.
I mean, if you take police away from the equation, then we've got like so much money to play with, guys. Like it's insane. Like, we can put that money in social welfare. We can put that money in housing. There's plenty of housing here too. I don't understand. Like maybe somebody can explain to me or reach out to Mayor Hancock and figure out like to either of us, because we've talked about it. We've gone over the numbers. There's plenty of housing.
Yeah, it's definitely a system that is put in place to not allow people to uplift themselves, which again is why it's disappointing having a black mayor that does not care about us. I'm going to keep saying that.
Does not care about us.
Um,
Refuses to listen to us. Like I mean,
Yeah, it doesn't even acknowledge the problem and makes very bold statements about fully supporting the police no matter what, which is crazy to see even after the series of events that's happened here. That to see that they've only gotten more bold with like traumatizing and brutalizing people, and the mayor is like, I love them. It's so
like they're the
upsetting.
best,
Yeah.
fine men and women. I'm just like,
It's like I don't see a
okay.
problem.
Governor Polis like backing them too. I'm
Yeah.
just like, I mean, but excuse me, he doesn't follow Denver politics, so I guess that's expected. Yeah.
Gets spicy. I don't like it either.
Yeah.
Spicy.
I think people are too afraid to criticize Mayor Hancock because he's a black mayor, but he's not doing anything for us, so it's fine. Like,
Yeah. Call out your Democratic leaders for not doing their jobs, for not doing what they promised to do for you. He's been in office since 2011. What's the holdup? We'd love to know. We've also reached out for meetings too. Just want to put that out there into the ethos and feel like we're being ignored, Mayor Hancock. So like, whenever you're ready, we definitely had someone in touch. Yeah. All the shade.
yeah,
All the shade.
very much.
All the shade. I know that. So I am white. I didn't want to I should throw that out. But I've mentioned, I don't know if we've had I was born into this. My dad started practicing civil rights law, specifically police brutality, in 1973. Rural Tennessee. It has been amazing my entire life to watch all of this unfold, because it feels like more has happened in the past few weeks than had for literally the 41 years prior. It's kind of amazing. How have your families responded to this moment right now?
Mom, I'm so sorry. She does not want me out here.
Oh, really? Why?
She's scared.
Well,
She's
let's
terrified.
talk to that.
Oh my
Talk to
God, my
that.
mother, like, I mean, when I try to show her videos, she's like, nope, my anxiety. I learned really early on not to go live in these events on Facebook because, yeah, yeah, and I get it too, but like, I mean, and my great grandmother was like that too, but like, I mean, she's been my family. I come from a generational family of accidents too. My great grandmother was Medgar Evers. Uh, she was his maid. She ran to a social club to let his wife know that he'd just been murdered, so the cops couldn't say it was suicide. And like, I mean, yeah, like, it's just to speak on that just a little bit further. Like, I mean, it's just really sad that all these years later, she's out there, so she gets it. I know my family gets it. Like, and I know they support me as well, but like, she's also equally terrified. Like, I'm gay, I'm black, non-binary. I just check all the boxes off of like, you know, police brutality punching bag. Like, they don't like us. They don't like us very much. But that's part of the reason why we're out here too. It's because like they don't like us in these spaces. They don't like me in my home. It's like I could stay home, but like, I mean, because of no knock warrants, I don't know what this reality of the situation is in Colorado. But like, I mean, people can just bust into my door and shoot me. And, you know, like, I mean, that's something that I've worried about, especially since I've started like doing this. Like, people have taken the time to handwrite hate and mail it to me just for, you know, organizing or being out here. Like, I've heard very creative insults. But yeah, I'm gonna.
Oh,
yeah, sorry.
it is
I
very scary.
I go on tangents and I just
No,
start
you're
talking.
fine.
Like,
While you were saying that, I was like, it is very scary. I was not even like associated with anything specifically or organizing, but just from like being very open and public about things. And I also did like a small article with a journalist. Like, someone told me they wanted to see me like hanging, like locals of Colorado. Like, I don't think people realize how, like, I think people think Colorado's a really progressive state. It's not that progressive. There's lots of racist people. It's concerning. But my family's really supportive. I'm a single parent household. I'm a biracial person, so like my family gets it on both sides. My mom is Hispanic and my dad is from Senegal in West Africa. And I mean, my mom is dealt with the same thing a lot of her life. She's like a lighter skinned Hispanic woman. But even in that area, like she's, as soon as people find out that she's not white because she's white passing, complete flip on how they treat her. Like, and just seeing me growing up, like trying to put me in different schools and see where I would fit best, like even having teachers make like racist comments to me. And I being a biracial kid too, like getting it from both sides, like she's very
I'm sure you had to deal with the colorism.
yeah,
Like,
no,
yeah.
but and I'm not even like I'm not white skinned, but
Yeah.
like, but black people will be like, you're like when I was growing up, like people would like bully me for that, and I was like, I'm literally like second generation Senegal, like I'm.
My sister
But
used to
it
get
just
called white
doesn't-
girl.
Yeah, it's
by
also
other
like
black kids.
we
like,
talked about this too, like
Yeah.
just the way you speak, like
Yeah.
it's something that people will attack too. It's like if you are well spoken, it's like frowned upon. It's a really not an okay thing. And again, it just goes back to like uplifting our community instead of holding one another down, which is something my mom's always instilled in me from a young age. So she's very supportive. And grandpa who passed away recently was like 94, and he migrated here from Mexico and was a migrant farm worker in California. Like from the age that he was old enough to physically pick something, he was working in the field. So I've always had that sense of justice instilled in me, just because I respect people so much, especially people like my grandpa's a really big influence on me, just because he worked so hard and was like, you know, one of the first brown people to have certain jobs here and like really made a good life for himself and all of his children, and like worked really hard to do that even in the face of all of those things. And my mom has always taught me that. And
the ability to share stories like that is like I think the main difference now. It's like looking at like how it was back then. Like I've heard my grandmother talk about like what it was like doing actions in her day, and like now it's like we're just apprised of way more information by the minute. You could be on Twitter and find out something like a second after it happened. Like there's no like pulling the wool over anybody's eyes anymore. Go-Intel is way less effective now. Like I mean, we can verify, we can do our homework, we can verify with each other. It's like these tactics don't work anymore. And I think that's like, I mean, we have cell phones, we have records, like we can catch a racist in the
videos.
text. Like, yes, like this
But
is
that's the other confusing part about this moment, though.
Mhm.
And what I think you two just said is so important for the white people watching. Right now, the way white people talk about this is very different. It's, oh, this is exciting. It's a thing, a period of change. I'm embarrassed that we got here, but look at what's happening, because it does impact us. Obviously, everything impacts us, but it's not specifically their problem. It's like something that you're watching unfold. Or when you learn about the MLK and the civil rights era of 1963 through 1971, it would have been so cool to be there. No. No. It's so the way we sort of whitewash and romanticize history, covering up or just not going into all the details of how dangerous it actually was. I know that the responses that I've seen have been from,
I'm just like trying to hold my tongue because I love this question a lot. Please stop invoking MLK and Malcolm X. He was killed. Both of them were killed. Like
Yep.
MLK, it is no longer like, I mean, if I see it, I'm gonna check you and then I'm gonna block you. I just don't think it's like it's so disrespectful to his memory to say anything about MLK, because he was about peaceful protests. He was about nonviolent, like civil disobedience. When he decided to change his mind, when he decided to even dare about thinking about a different way of doing things, I'd encourage everybody to go look at that speech from Birmingham, where he talks just about like he felt like he led his people into a burning house. I think that was the analogy that he used. For that man to come to that realization and then be murdered like a few moments later. Like, I think we really have to ask ourselves, like, why are we really using him as an example for nonviolent protests? MLK was the single most hated man in America before his death, almost 75+%. So, they didn't like him then. Like, let's not pretend to like him now because it serves some sort of narrative about people not protesting the way that he wanted to protest. Sorry. Malcolm X too. He changed his mind and he was murdered senselessly for doing so. Like, it's not fair to invoke these people. They can't speak for themselves. They are dead. Let them rest.
Because I think that's really that's what it needs to be said more. That it was a dangerous time then.
Mm-hmm.
It's no less dangerous now. That the immigrants who came here for a better life, for the American dream, it's almost you're rocking the boat by going, this is dangerous, what you're doing. Yes, it's necessary. Yes, it's not fair, but the price you'll have to pay for that with no guarantee of a return, is it really worth it? There is, to what I said, our parents are scared.
Well, yeah, and I talked to Echo about this yesterday a little bit. Like, I don't think the risk would be any greater if we weren't doing it. Like, we're here because we're already at risk. So it's like I might as well be doing something about it because I'm still going to be targeted no matter what. So I might as well actually try to do something about that. And if I'm targeted, that doesn't really change anything from what's already been happening. So
We've been living with X's on our backs. We've been living with X's on our back from birth. I have always been a victim of this experience. Not a victim. I don't want to it's just there's nothing we can do about this. And it's not a uniquely American experience. I grew up in Germany. Racism exists everywhere. It's disgusting. I hate that America is such an arbiter of it, but I mean, that's why we're out here. We want to change that. We want to start having these conversations. I mean, we're not starting to have them, like we're still having them, but I think we're in a different scenario now. People are paying attention. Like, it's not just Black people that are upset, it's Latinx people. Like, it's white people. Like, they're showing up too. Like, happy to have you, keep showing up.
I'd like to see more people of color.
Insane. Like, our
showing up.
community, well, but I also understand
that.
that too. It's like, I mean,
It's scary, but
yeah,
it's no less scary than if it's already scary. So
yeah.
So what's scary for a Black person? Walking into a protest where there are a bunch of cops, or walking into a protest where there's a whole bunch of white people?
We are not a monolith, and I know just as many people who would be freaked out
Yeah.
from both of those situations.
yeah,
I mean, like, there's just no winning.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's terrible.
And in Denver, it's like it's a sensitive situation because, like, I mean, let's not mince words. Denver's not a Black city. Like, the demographic is very white. Like, every time I go into, public spaces, I'm gearing up to be tokenized. Like, there's no way around it. Like, I walk into Walmart, I'm the only Black person there. I walk into Starbucks, I'm the only Black person there.
Protest in Boulder, you're the only Black person there.
Yeah, or like the only other Black person is the organizer that I brought with me and one of our members. So
you like make eye contact with the Black people you see in the store, and they like give you
Yeah.
an elbow. It's like, I recognize you.
So I mean, it's a real problem. I think I understand people's hesitancy not to come out and not to. I mean, I struggled with it too in the initial days, just wondering if I'd be protected by the people that I came out. I've been made faggots by Black people out here, like called that, showing up to an action, like more than once, like by more than one person. So, like, I mean, it's not going to keep me from showing up. I'm not even going to sit here and like front like I've got incredibly thick skin, but it's one of those fake it till you make it situations. Like, I'm learning to just this is the reality of my situation. It's always been the reality of my situation, so it's not going to change if I'm staying home every day or if I'm out here. And I just rather feel like I'm doing something than to just be sitting home like just waiting to.
It's also is like this has developed a very safe community. Like, I trust everybody here. Like,
Yes, all the people
everyone
we're
is-
around right now.
yeah, very open to like everyone wants to ensure your safety, and everyone is here for the same reason. So it's, even though it's not obviously an ideal situation to be in, this is something that's really positive that's come out of it, is like these like-minded people, and everyone wants to protect each other, and everyone is here to make sure everyone stays safe, and it's just such a nice little sense of camaraderie. So I think I think it's more comfortable for people to come back out if you just come back
Please,
out.
like, there's so many things. There's a solidarity. There's a march on Washington, in
Yes.
solidarity on the 28th. A very good friend of ours, Iris Butler, is an independent organizer who's been taking that on. I am blanking on the name. If you write it now, I would totally shout her out. Afro Liberation Front has officially signed on as a co-host, or we will as soon as we get there and approve the pending request.
I'm speaking.
Yeah, you're speaking
I'm
as
helping
well.
lead the march. You're
Yes.
speaking.
Yeah, so I'm speaking.
Why would you want a white woman speaking
Okay.
at the Black Liberation March?
Sorry, like, yeah. I'm just like, I mean,
I mean, I will talk whenever if
I have
somebody
my
wants me
megaphone to
talk
everybody.
back.
I don't care. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's just the homeless people, I think, that got swept.
Gotcha.
I literally had to step over to get out of my car to walk over here. It was really sad. We were checking a pulse on a guy to see if he was still breathing.
You guys have any questions or like anything you'd like to it's like the comments stay static whenever we. I'm sorry, I don't mean to put anybody on the spot.
No, it's okay. This tends to happen when people are like, "Oh, I can talk too." There are people
Yeah.
watching that probably don't realize that they can actually throw
Like
comments
comment.
or questions in the chat, and it pops up.
Yeah.
We touch it on the screen. Yeah, it's weird to be experiencing this moment so differently than other people. It's like I gave a short live stream right before Wall of Moms Denver went out to do their first action when I was driving back from Louisville, Kentucky with Shanika Carter and the Elijah McClain supporters on the Caravan for Justice. And I remember saying, welcome to your last normal day. From this point forward, your life will be divided into two camps. Those who protested and those who don't quite understand why you got involved in the first place. And that's a conversation. So now, I mean, it's so deeply entrenched. I haven't talked personally to if you had asked me 6 months ago who my closest friends were, I still love them, but we are experiencing this moment very differently right now for very different reasons. I don't judge theirs. They don't judge mine. I don't really care. But this is what, again, just to contrast my experience to yours, the white experience to the anything but white experience at the moment. Those are sort of the two camps. Knowing that Black people as well are not a monolith, how is this impacting, enhancing, or changing your dynamic with your friends? Do people understand what you're doing? Like, what is your conversation? This is what mine is.
I think Edgar and I had like a similar kind of bonded over this a little bit, like kind of being pushed out of Black communities like growing up, because there is so much interdivision. So like a majority of my friends are white people who are very supportive and like ask a lot of questions about like how they can help and what they can do to help and what ways they want to, which is really nice. And I wish I saw more of my friends of color out here. I understand why they're scared too. And then there also has been like still that interdivision in some areas, especially earlier on, which is so unfortunate. Like seeing marginalized groups bring each other down is not helping us move forward in any way. So not so much like personal relationships, but definitely has affected the way that I view certain people that are also people of color, but that don't want people to do things unless it's their way, including other Black people or people of color in general, and will put them down and almost like have a hate campaign if they disagree with anything. And it's really unfortunate, like seeing our communities, any of them, like all people of color, any marginalized groups, bring one another down when like we're all fighting the same system. So it's been interesting. I've always known that's existed, like just from growing up with it as a biracial person, but seeing it on this level of intensity, like on a level where we're literally fighting people to humanize us and seeing people still have those like inner fights is disappointing.
Really weird.
Which, to answer whoever's question, which is why
yeah.
should you support ALF? That's why. It's a very open and diverse group. I found so much comfort in this and like took a step back for a while because things were so confusing and tense, and ended up reaching back out to Echo and was like, I had to take a step back because things were confusing with like all the different groups, but I appreciate what you're doing and the like sense of solidarity within everyone associated with it. So I did take a long step back and like observe everything from the outside, and this is the only place I felt comfortable coming back to, because it had intent and focused actions and was working with a variety of strong people in the community and was very accepting and open when I see like so many other groups like having such a huge vibe of like misogyny or homophobia has been a really big one, which has always been an issue, I think, in like Black and brown communities, which is also really unfortunate. Like, I don't know why we can't see that we're experiencing the same level of discrimination and oppression. Like, we are all marginalized groups, so it's weird to like try to rank ourselves above any of each other. That interdivision is definitely like shown itself more, and it's disappointing.
Yeah. I feel the exact same way. It's just everything that I've seen in the community so far. I mean, we're afraid of it happening within our own community. Colorism is a real thing. My sister, like my family, my family's French Creole, so there's a lot of people who are fair skinned. I also speak a certain way, and I've been made fun of or told that I sound like one certain ethnicity or usually a color when people start hearing me speak. I've been chastised for doing homework or just really weird things that you shouldn't feel afraid of. I don't know what is like. I mean, I swear I'm not intimidating or I'm harmless, guys. Like I'm not.
It's
I'm
not
like-
you. It's
You're not
also like
intimidating.
that's like bringing down your own community, which my mom
Yeah.
has always told me that because my mom gets that. I get that. Like my dad lives in Africa, so I grew
Yeah.
up with my Hispanic mother, like in a like very Hispanic culture, like a very Mexican American cultured house. Which even if I did grow up with my dad, he's from West Africa, so it wouldn't be this like the level of like African American that I think people expect stereotypically anyways. But we talked about that too. Like people literally be like, you talk white. Like I don't, and that's such a you're literally putting down your own people when you say that. And my
Yeah.
mom has always put it to me like that. Like if someone is speaking to you intellectually or is well spoken and you're saying that they must not be that race, like are you saying that we can't be intellectual? Like that we're not capable of speaking properly?
Eloquence
It's really a
and
weird drag on
eloquence and diction were
ourselves.
always valued in my family. They continue to be, like education as well. And it's like it's not like a status thing. It's just about like it opens you up to like I mean my mother was just very like I think she was just hip to the game before I was. Like she knew like what type of hate and what type of scrutiny that I was going to encounter out here trying to make it in America. And I'm really happy that yeah, like I mean, you can't sound like an ethnicity. You can't sound like a color. Like they're very ignorant statements that I think a lot of people in our community have let slide for way too long. People who don't want to feel like divisive or feel like they're alienating somebody. Like it's okay to check people on these things, and we all want to normalize learning, normalize new behavior in light of new information. It's something that I try to strive on with myself personally. It's something that I try to strive. Like I mean, the organization, like we do it to each other. Like the person to my left, the person to my right, stand ready to check me at a moment's notice the minute I step out of line. So, yeah.
But
One second.
yeah,
I feel like it's a really difficult thing to tackle. People will get really easily offended. I don't know if any individual person can help build the unity between different marginalized groups. It's something that has to happen, unfortunately, slowly, just because I feel like so many of those things are internalized against themselves. Like saying things like that is just bringing your own community down, and that's an internalized thing that I don't think a lot of people know how to step out of.
Marginalized communities.
Yeah.
Marginalized communities, I feel like are they're the quickest to want to go talk to another community and see if there's some common ground of understanding that we can come to meet both of our goals. I think it might just be as simple as allowing those individuals to keep doing what they're doing and supporting them when they feel confident enough to do so. There so many queer people encouraged me to be out here doing this every day, and they continue to do it. Like I'm trying to encourage some of them to feel safe enough and also facilitate a space where they feel safe enough to come out and share their voice as well. Like it's a multi-tiered process. We think the actions that attract attention and like people, the clickbait stuff, like I mean, everybody wants to see a statue fall, like that's great, but we also want to support things like showing up to city council. And I mean, I really like showing up to people's houses now. Like I know Polis wasn't there when we were there, but like Karen, I hope you're watching. You
So
gave me so much
entertaining.
energy. That was really entertaining.
that was the
What
best
else?
thing I
And I mean, and his neighbors got to hear. So I mean, we know he got the message. Like I mean, I'm sure somebody's asking him to move after that. But yeah, I mean, and we're just open to inclusivity. And like, if you have ideas, you want to come out and you want to organize, like, we're very open about channels, like ways to get in, ways to plug in. We have a Google form doc that's floating around right now where you can submit 2 forms of social media. And we have a section where you can also put in your skills and stuff, things that you think you might be able to contribute to the organization to help us really get off our feet. Like, I mean, we're growing and we continue to grow, and
And all
yeah.
those things count. Like even not being out here, like you were talking about earlier, like having people at home,
Yes, every
like doing
approach.
things. All
Yes.
those things are helpful.
Yes.
And just kind of spread out the work so it's not all
Yeah.
falling on.
Yeah, we need people at home to donate. Like, everybody's not made for the front lines, and we know that. Like, that's the question about like the friends and stuff. So like, yeah, that's been my thing. Like, I'm also friends with a lot of Caucasian people, and I've got a friend in particular that I'm thinking of. It's like I couldn't protect her, and I hope that I would hope that she would not be out here, because I don't think she could adequately protect herself from like tear gas and flying bullets. It's just, I know, like, I mean, and I think some people know what they can and are willing to handle. Nobody's asking you to come out here and traumatize yourself. Like, if all you can do is donate. If all you can do is pick up the phone and bully a council member, please do that. Like, I think a lot of council people are escaping accountability because they know people don't check in. They know people don't follow local politics. They are banking on you being more concerned with what Trump did today, when the reality of the situation is that their decision affects your day-to-day life, like tomorrow, right now, immediately. The people, I was about to say the people inside that building, the people that should be inside that building right now, like, they need to be held accountable. And I mean, we can't just leave Candy out there to do it alone. Like, I mean, she shows up for us, and now we have to start showing up for her. Like, I mean, and any other council person who's willing to change their tune right now. Like, I mean, there's still time left. Just like Mayor Hancock, just like everybody else. It's like, you're still in office. That means you still have a job to do. This is your constituency. Now we are pleading with you to hear us, to hear our concerns. All you have to do is take action. Like,
Yeah, I think a lot of people are confused.
How do we
Like,
go back to
why
it?
aren't you just writing to your local representatives? I mean, I think people have asked nicely for a long time.
Can we get more
Or-
questions?
yeah, sure.
Sorry,
Get more what?
questions. I like those. Like when they're coming from.
They're gonna pop up at the bottom and as they come in.
No, we just.
We just did that one.
Hold on, wait. Where are they? Haley. Is that how you say your name? I hope I'm saying your name correctly. Do you need us to elaborate any further? Did we answer your question? I don't know if you're still here.
To elaborate on that, like a teeny bit further.
Go ahead. please.
Obviously people fear what they don't understand. In the same way that we want like people that don't support this to humanize us, we should be humanizing one another in that sense as well. Like, if you don't agree with something about another marginalized community, ask questions, have a conversation. We should be supporting each other. You don't even necessarily have to agree to support each other, but it does not help to bring one another down. So the most important part of that is encouraging people to be open, encouraging people to ask questions, and encouraging people to be open to answering those questions and having conversations that might be uncomfortable sometimes, but that's the only way that you can have that kind of unity between marginalized groups, is having conversations.
Yeah. We're not all, people like to loop us in together and make all of our experiences the same, when it's just so incredibly not. Like, gay white man is not privy to the same experience as a non-binary queer person, or a gay black person, or a trans white person, or trans, like, every experience is different. We all have a different set of privileges that come with our existence in America.
And ableism hasn't been completely addressed, or even much less adequately addressed in this moment too. That's still something a lot of us are unpacking.
Yes.
Yeah, I definitely didn't see anyone even addressing that, like, at the beginning of this. I actually saw some people too that like want to come out and support, but were like, can anyone like push me today? Like, I need wheelchair access. Like, I want to be able to do it. And just like people not responding. Like, some people, like, I'm like trying to boost this post, like, can anyone go? And like, everyone's usually just supportive of each other, but the fact that like nobody could support like this one person that was like so badly wanted to be there, and it's like,
There was
we're all
like
gonna be walking anyway.
There was like
Yeah.
1,000-man march or something, and then one of our organizers reached out and said, "Yo, like, is this open to trans men too?" Zero response. Like, I mean, how can you say Black Lives Matter with a mental asterisk in your head? Like, I mean, when you say Black Lives Matter, I hope you mean like trans lives. I hope you mean LGBTQ lives, like all Black lives. Like, I mean, it's kind of like, disrespectful to the movement. It's disrespectful to the people you claim to be supporting. Like,
Almost like we ask those people to come out and support and be here, but then if we're not going to make them like not cater to those people, but if we're not going to like allow them to have a comfortable space, I understand why they don't want to be here.
yeah.
So have those conversations with each other.
I love that we did this. I'm so happy. Yeah.
So cute.
If we could like, I'm guessing if they had already taken a vote, we would have heard about it.
No, I don't think
It
they're
hasn't
voting
come ahead yet.
They're probably going to be in there for a minute. They're going to want to flesh out or talk as long as possible as they possibly can about why they won't support it. Like, I mean, process, guys. Like, that's, I mean, if you please call them out, check them on that bullshit because you didn't submit it through the proper channels. It's like the biggest care and response to what's going on right now. Like, I mean, it's sad.
They have no excuse.
Yeah.
I guess let's end on that. Is there, you mentioned the conversations that aren't happening. What is a conversation that you would like to have that is not happening right now? I know one of your biggest frustrations has been, can we talk about when Black people aren't showing up to protests? What else? Beyond that, what else? What do we
Understanding
need
that
to say?
it's an issue that affects everything. It affects housing. It affects the medical community. It affects education. Like, racism is not only, unique to our police force and like to police brutality and law enforcement agencies alone. That's just where most of it takes place, and also a place where if we fundamentally reallocate their budget, we can solve a lot in our community. We can reinvest that money into social welfare. We can reinvest that money into affordable housing. We can actually put our tax dollars to work and help people rather than victimize and, criminalize.
Yeah, like I said earlier, it all leads back to the same source. It's the same system that everyone's trying to dismantle. So
Yeah.
seeing people get upset that every action isn't focused on abolishing the police is kind of silly to me.
Yeah.
Because it's all focused on dismantling in the same system, which the police are a direct result of. So
That's what we want people to understand. It's just that housing rights are Black rights, gay rights are Black rights. Like, it's all intersectional. We need you to show up as hard for preventing sweeps, and show up as with that same energy when we need you to come to City Hall, or when we won't be asking you to stand in the street anytime soon, but just show up, keep showing up. I think that's the only way we're going to get numbers back to where they were. And I believe that's completely possible. There's enough people, similar-minded people across the Denver metro area who want to come out if they feel validated enough to do so, if they feel confident enough to do so.
it's scary, but it's not going to get any less scary if you're not coming out.
Yes, exactly. Numbers change the way law enforcement react to us. Changes just their movements completely. It's harder to ignore us when it's 1,000 of us versus 30. I'll tell you that much for sure. Just imagine if we had the numbers that we had from the first few days of protests outside of Webb. They probably would have closed that building rather than posture with their
Horses.
What do you call the horse cops? Like, that was so weird.
I just been calling them horse cops.
They're mounted police. Yeah. There are reasons to show up. I think the reasons people aren't showing up is that they don't know that we're out here. Take your media with a grain of salt. Hold them to a higher standard. There's a lot of reject cognitive bias. When you see things like unruly before the word protester, or violent when the only thing that was destroyed was a window and not a life. We just need to be paying closer attention to everything. Media, our elected representatives, so there's a lot going on right now.
Which is also an important part of what you can do if you don't
You
want
may
to
have
be
comments on
doing,
it.
which is also another part of what you want to be doing. I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, me too. It's a lot of conversations going on.
My mother
I
came in the
can't
comments and I
remember.
lost my train of thought trying to read it. Which is also what you can be doing from home if you're not coming to action. Just boosting posts and letting people know if you can't make it, letting like-minded people know that like we're here is really important, because having those numbers is important even if you can't come.
She was answering the last one before you
Oh,
looked at it. Yeah. You made a comment on this one. Can we touch on it? Oh, well, I get tired of saying this, and I feel like the people who, I'm sure you do too. You get tired of answering that question because people really could just Google and understand we don't mean we won't have police. There are examples of nonviolent intervention all over the country and all over the world. When we talk about defunding, we want to reallocate the funds. When you look at the budget, you've got the police department up here, and then on the same graph, you've got affordable housing, like
That's intentional.
welfare, like schools, like inner city schools, like at-risk schools. Like, it's insane how much money we put into this when all of these other things that would directly serve the community are being ignored. So like when we say things like defund the police or abolish the police, like, yes, we still want someone to call when shit hits the fan. No, they don't need the budget of a small military to do that.
Yeah, and that I think that's done very intentionally, like, because I mean, I think government agencies and law enforcement are well aware that if those funds were put in those communities and gave them the tools they needed to uplift themselves, there wouldn't be as much of a need for them. So I think that's what they're trying to actively stop, is like they're not going to be able to do their jobs as often if those communities are able to do for themselves, uplift themselves to a point where like having programs in place for for kids, or like a lot of theft too in like lower income communities, like, is because people can't afford things. If we gave those communities the tools that they need to help themselves, there wouldn't be as much of a necessity for policing.
Also, let's call a spade a spade. They're not good at policing. At
Yeah,
all.
the cops don't show up in like the neighborhood I grew up in. They don't show up when we call. Like,
Yeah.
they don't.
Yeah, like they don't. Like they consistently ignore communities of color or marginalized communities until there's a reason to take one of them to jail or there's a reason to criminalize someone. They do not show up to help, serve, or protect.
Correct.
Yeah, it's and also they're just doing a really bad job. Like, I mean, with the responsibilities that they have right now, I mean, one could even argue like, hey, let's play devil's advocate. They've got too much on their plate, and so it's just getting to a point where they're not effective at doing anything. So, like, realistically, they should welcome a conversation when the community wants to reclaim some of the responsibility.
Yeah.
Same thing with the city. Like, you've got people out here actively feeding people, feeding the homeless. Like, they're autonomous in some way and still making it work on a campsite. Only thing you've got to do is keep the trash up and like provide more than one porta potty per 1,000 person out there. Like, I mean, yeah, there are a lot of examples that of reasons for the city or the police to welcome this type of engagement or this dialogue. Like, yeah.
Also not being put where they need to. Like, I know every time it's like things have been very violent this summer, obviously in Denver, and everyone constantly brings that up and is like, this is why we can't abolish the like the police have not been there. Like, we have tons of cops like sitting inside of the Capitol every single day guarding nothing, but like even the shootings from yesterday, the police were not on scene. Like, that was like a prolonged event. Like, that some of that very well could have been prevented. I mean, I don't know how many people have seen it, but like
that's not the only instance like that
there
this
were
month,
things
let
going
alone
on,
in the
like,
last 2 weeks. So it's like,
and they're aware of it too. Those are like high crime. Like, I grew up close to that area. Those are high crime areas. They're aware of it. They aren't there to prevent crime where they're needed because they're sitting in a fence in the Capitol, like, that we paid for. So yes.
yeah,
So
they're too concerned with an unoccupied
building.
brown patch of grass rather than with the spikes in violence occurring across the city because people are asked out. They have no other choice. Like, I'm not making any excuse for violence or like, oh my god,
I know who
this fly wants to
attacking.
live in like, oh, okay, sorry.
You're irresistible.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's like, I mean, I use a lot of natural stuff in my hair. It's most likely that.
Is it the Shea Moisture?
Yeah, it's
Same.
Shea
Like, it
Moisture.
smells
Like,
us.
it's like nothing but, it's like literally food in my hair right now. Lost my train of thought.
Not attending to, but not being placed where they need to be in terms of like violence
Oh.
happening.
Yeah, I mean, and there are some situations where they just don't even show up. Like, even when you call them and they know what's happening, like, I've lost confidence in the police force to do their jobs. Like, I mean, they clearly don't have integrity. If there's a way for them to get out of it, they're going to. I'm not sure that removing qualified immunity at the state level does enough. Like, I'm happy that it happened, but it's a start. Like, I mean, they're totally the type of people that would challenge it federally. Like, that's who we're dealing with. So, like,
It's just that
also shout out to Leslie Harrod. Love you, all of you who made that happen. Like, real talk.
Oh God, love her.
Yeah.
there's like no need. Yeah, there's no what are we funding at this point? Like the fact that I can see a video today of someone's body being dragged through the street yesterday after being shot in the head, and there are
Yeah.
no police in sight, and that happened several minutes before, like not 5 or 6, like 10, 15, 20 minutes before. But then, like, you can drive downtown and there's like 50 cops sitting at the Capitol, but someone's literally having to drag their friend's body out of the street so they don't get their dead body ran over.
With the
I don't know
fence.
where they're. Yeah, with
Not
the
the
fence.
fence.
What if it gets
In the
torn
grass, or what
Like-
if the grass gets covered by a tent?
It
Oh
would
no!
be terrible if that fence was torn down.
Oh, what a
Exactly.
shame! It would
Yeah.
be awful.
Awful.
I mean, people's argument is that, like, who are we going to have to respond to violent crime? But they're not doing that anyways. They're not preventing crime anyways.
Can I mention
Speaking-
something about
Oh,
that?
please.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So when I moved here in March, I'll add a trigger warning. So like self-harm trigger warning. So I had the police called on me for self-harm. And I walked to my door and there were 15 to 20 police with
God.
guns on my property.
Awesome.
And
That's
instead
called
of
a welfare
sending-
check.
Yeah. So
Yeah, like a
instead
welfare.
of a social worker, someone that could actually have helped me mentally, I was terrified of all these men that showed up at my door for 15, 20 minutes, like interrogating me.
That's not going to help your mental
Go on
health.
and
like,
and you're lucky because there's a story. There's a story very recently in Arizona where on
I
a
was just thinking
routine
about that.
welfare anti-suicide check, the suicidal person was actually killed by police
Oh my god.
within seconds of their arrival at the door.
which is why, like,
Right.
I don't know what training
was
people
white.
think is going to happen that is going to change that. Like, they're not equipped to do that. They're just
They're not
not
equipped
equipped
to
for
do
that
it.
job. And
No.
they
Yeah,
It's
and they
been
ended up
years
laughing
of-
and then leaving
Yeah.
and saying, "Thank you for being the most reasonable person we've dealt with today." I
Yeah.
wonder why that was.
and it's like you're paid to, like, quote, like the fact that even serve and protect is written on it, like, it's a joke.
Mhm.
I mean, that's what they're paid to do. That does not happen. It's literally the opposite. I've never had an experience where a police officer has served and protected me, and that's what I pay for.
Mhm.
So I don't know why people think that we would be losing so much when, like, we don't get what we're paying for.
It's
to
like,
begin
ask
with.
yourselves what they're realistically doing right now.
Yeah.
What murders they're solving.
I mean-
like, all they do is really show up to murders after they've happened, from what I've seen. Like,
And they
I'm-
know where the crimes are. Like, they know
Yeah.
where the crimes are happening. They know, like, what neighborhood. Like, they are very well kept up to date. And people always want to be like, they can't know everything, but they do. Like,
They
they are
do.
monitoring those
Mhm.
situations. They know. If I know, like, what areas are like high risk, they
Facts.
know, and they're not there.
I gotta ask, did you two watch Tiger King?
Oh God.
I did.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, one of my black friends, probably had the best statement on it that like ever. Just like, so these are dudes on a farm with illegal animals, illegal guns, illegal drugs, and they get a Netflix documentary. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Mhm.
yeah.
Would that
Yeah.
have been-
It's fine. Just a hired hitman talking on camera for his documentary
Yeah.
series.
Not weird.
It's totally
Next to
cool.
a con man that is stealing his zoo at
Yeah.
the moment, and they can't stop it. And the woman they're harassing,
Yeah.
who can't also stop them?
Who also maybe killed her husband, but, but it's
right?
fine.
Like, oh my God.
saying.
My mind, like, whenever I
Uh,
think about all
That's
of
literally
that.
just a show full of, like, hi, we commit crimes and we get a TV show. And are
How
being
is that
held
the same
accountable.
year? We are still in 2020.
I know. If anyone can have seen the Tiger King era of the quarantine morphing into this now, I feel
Oh,
like that's such
yeah.
a perfect juxtaposition for the year.
Yeah.
So, what did you watch during that as self? That probably was not self care for you, I'm guessing.
No.
So, what was?
It was
Like,
way more triggering after the fact.
media
Like,
wise?
yeah.
Well, I mean, what do you when you? So, I'm gonna go home and watch Sweet Sweet Vampire Love in the form of Twilight to effing forget
Is Iris
most
here
of
still?
today. Yeah, that's totally Iris's influence. So what do you do when you're like, I need to turn, or I play Pokemon, because I can, man, this is hard on an iPhone, and it will take all of my brain power just to, because I'm real stupid. So what do you do to shut your brain down, either drowning it in entertainment or distracting yourself so thoroughly. I'm guessing it's not Tiger King, maybe not Twilight.
It's not. Do you want to go?
Cheer.
I'm a crafty person. I
Crafty
I
bitch.
pressed flowers for like, yeah, my boyfriend got me socks to say that. I pressed flowers for like 3 hours the other day because I was like, I'm taking a break, Jib, not to look at my phone. I'm gonna like cut all of these open and press them in a book.
I love that.
And then I play Zelda Link's Awakening on Nintendo Switch. Those are my two things.
I'm still learning how to make time that isn't involved in this. Like, one of my I've recently taken back up a hobby of editing film, but it's still my you tell stories about your life and you tell stories about your experiences, and that's definitely working its way into my art now. So yeah, but I mean, to that point, like when I am in an editing bay, like on a platform like Adobe or Final Cut, like I get flow pretty quickly. Like I just turn my brain off; it doesn't feel like work. I can be on there 30 minutes or 8 hours. I am completely content. I love yeah, sharing a new perspective, like a different perspective. I think that's very important right now, and it's just kind of convenient, like as a matter of fact way that it ties into my hobbies.
Well, thanks, guys. As the sun is starting to set, if anyone else has something they would like to say directly to City Council,
Thank you guys so much for sticking with
come
us.
say
I
it quickly,
appreciate it.
because I got to go battle with my son before bed.
Yeah.
Then have the battle to get them actually into bed.
If you're still thinking about something to do, I know the family estate of Elijah McClain has approved an event, a projection here shortly at 8. I don't want to misquote anything, but all of those graphics are on the socials. So if you have time, definitely go out.
Yeah, it should be. It's a projection of like,
Celebrities. I think Monet. What's her first name? Janelle Monáe. I was like, that isn't
Yeah.
right. My brain just short circuited. Anyway, Janelle Monáe, I know, like,
how you say her name?
posted about it, and then I think it got a whole bunch of celebrities to make a video,
Yeah.
and that's supposed to be happening over here tonight.
Yeah. Should be like intercut, I think, with like footage of him as well. It's like a nice thing to come through if you like aren't like a protest person. It's a really nice.
His
Yeah.
mother's approved of it,
Yeah.
and I think we'll also be there. So like, yeah, come out, show solidarity.
I think
I'm gonna
so.
stop by.
I think we saw them
Yeah,
unfolding
it's
the
going
screen
until
earlier,
11
right?
o'clock.
It is at Park and Curtis.
Oh,
Park and
God,
Curtis.
no. Okay, so no, it is nowhere near here. I'm so
Oh, it's
sorry.
not at the Capitol? Sorry. So yeah, that's
We
why I didn't
totally got that wrong.
Yeah.
Our facts on Twitter are much better than the ones on the live streams.
Yeah, yeah,
FYI.
yeah. That's why I was deferring to the graphic. Like, go check the
20
graphic.
Curtis Street.
That's what. Can we show
Corner
that?
of Curtis and Park.
Curtis and Park. So further north.
There you
5
go,
points.
guys. Holy shit.
Is that near the MLK library?
Isn't that where Teddy did his presser?
Doesn't matter.
Karen says Twilight location.
Tonight,
Oh, tonight location. Oh, I'm sorry.
You're like Twilight.
I was like, why do people
yes,
love this
that
movie
has
so
been
much?
killer. If you did not just catch that,
Here, I can throw it back. Yeah,
I have it
one
on my
second,
phone, too.
Karen. Oh shit. It's like not intuitive the way that I'm trying to hold it. Does it say? It says state capitol on the flyer.
Steps from the state capitol, and then it has the address.
Oh, and then they're gonna march down. Gotcha. So 2220 Curtis Street on corner of Curtis and Park. Zip code is 80205. They're starting at the Capitol and marching down from there, and they'll be going until 11 o'clock.
But see, I know you guys wanted to go inside at the beginning of all this, but I'm like, look how good you look on the screen
Yeah,
and
I'm
the
really
sound. I
happy to
mean,
stay
despite all that, I mean, we'd be inside with bad lighting and
Yeah. Sorry, I'll read it one more time. I don't know if you can hear me.
I will text it to you.
Oh, you know her?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Right.
Hi, Karen.
good
Oh my
stuff.
God, she must like hate what the masses have done to her name.
I know. What a time to be a Karen. Ugh,
We love you, Karen. You, Karen.
we love everybody black. Baby can't see it. Oh no. Okay, there we go. All right, everybody have a good night. Thank you for tuning in. Let's fingers crossed
No, she got it.
someone hears anything tonight on City Council.
Yay.
Bye.